we're gonna have to drink for today's video. So today we're gonna do a story time video you guys requested on Instagram, and we're gonna be talking about something nobody likes to talk about, and that is labor. I feel like everyone, when you're pregnant, they completely ignore the subject. They're like, oh, pregnancy is beautiful, pregnancy is great, you're gonna love it, your baby, it's gonna be so cute. But when it comes down to labor, nobody really explains anything to you. You'll be in there shocked as hell with about everything you're gonna go through. And then there's everything with pain medication, don't get it, it's a mess. So I wanted to share with you guys my personal story because both of my labors were completely different. I'm talking about completely polar opposite different. So I thought it would be good to share with everybody, especially because I have a lot of new moms, a lot of friends that are pregnant, and it's good to talk about this stuff. Nobody ever tells you what you're gonna go through or what you should prepare for. I know with my first, I went in like, I have no idea what's going on. I think I'm in labor. So yeah, I just wanted to talk to you guys about that. So let's start off with my first. With my first, I was 19 when I got pregnant and 20 when I delivered. So I was really young. I had just came back from home from the army, so I was already in a lot of stress as it is. And I didn't know that being stressed out will affect my labor. So all that stress you put throughout your pregnancy will affect your labor. People don't ever tell you that. They're like, no, just keep walking. Walking is gonna do everything for you. It is not. It is not the same for everyone. You could exercise all you want, but if you're stressed, it's gonna put a lot on your labor. So with my first, I started with contractions at 8 o'clock in the morning. I went into the hospital at 9 o'clock at night. My doctor was like, you're fine. We'll deliver him tomorrow. I was like, what the fuck is going on? So turns out I was dilating super slow. So I had already been in labor for about 7-8 hours when they told me that I was still at 3 centimeters dilated. But they had to keep me because I was super swollen. So you can see it in my face, hands, feet, everything. Extremely swollen to the point where like I couldn't even close my hands like this. It was really bad. And so I stayed at the hospital overnight. They decided to give me medication to induce, which I did not know made labor 10 times worse. So your contractions do not stop. They keep going. You're in constant, consistent pain. Rude ass motorcycle. So you're in consistent pain, and it's just horrible. It was so bad. And that didn't help me at all. So getting induced didn't help me at all. After 17 hours, I finally gave in and I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm tired. I just want an epidural. I just want to be able to go to sleep. And even my mom was like, get it. She's like, get it. You're tired. It's been way too long. And at that point, I was still 4 centimeters dilated. 17 hours of pain for just 4 centimeters. And I was terrified of getting a C-section. So I was like, you know what? Maybe the epidural would help. I got the epidural. I laid back down and I remember telling the doctor, I was like, okay, so when does this kick in? And they all looked at me like, what the hell? I was like, well, I'm still in pain. And they're like, no, it should have kicked in like immediately. So they had to take it out, redo it all over again because the lady that did it did not do it right. So I'm sitting there getting a second epidural done. Once that one came in, that one was fine. The pain, it was like completely relaxing after that. After 32 hours, I finally delivered. So my first was a whole day and a half worth of just sitting there doing nothing. They wouldn't let me out of the bed. I couldn't stand up. One of the nurses kept yelling at me, telling me that if I wasn't fat, I would have been able to push my baby out a lot sooner, because I did gain 80 pounds during that pregnancy. And as you can tell, I'm not a big person, so 80 pounds looked really big on me. But yeah, that was fun. And then after the 32 hours, I started pushing. Finally, I was like, it's about damn time. But before that, I kept telling my nurse, I was like, I feel pressure, like something's wrong, I need to be checked. And she was like, no, you're fine. Then I told her again, I was like, no, something feels weird, like I need to be checked. And then finally I got so irritated asking her, I kicked her out of my room. I was so annoyed because nobody was listening to me. And then she's like, it's your first, you don't know what you're talking about. I hate when people tell you that. It's your first, you don't know what you're doing. It's not true. You're the parent, you're the pregnant one, you know exactly what you're doing. So I called in a different nurse. She sent me a different nurse that I completely love. She checked me right away and she's like, you need to start pushing, like right now, your baby's coming out. So I started pushing, baby came out almost right away, but he wasn't breathing. So he was stuck. First he was stuck. They tried to vacuum him out, it didn't work. They cut me, I got 5 stitches, then finally came out. And he was a month early, so that was another huge thing. And when he finally came out, he didn't cry, nobody said anything. I was like, what's going on? Quiet. So nobody told me until the next day that he wasn't breathing when he came out because he was stuck in there for so long and nobody listened to me to help me. So yeah, nobody cared. And everyone was like, oh yeah, he just wasn't breathing, like all casually, like it happens all the time. That was another thing that I was not expecting. Doctors think that everything's okay. It's baffling how they just brush everything off like, oh, it doesn't matter, it's fine. I'm gonna end up getting drunk by the end of the video. So that was that. Recovery was awful. I thought natural labor, it's gonna be so easy. I got stitches, like I said. So after my stitches, I went to my 6-week appointment. I thought, you know, perfect. They're dissolvable stitches, I'll be fine. I went in, the nurse tells me, your stitches were done wrong, so we're gonna have to redo your stitches. At that time, I had already started working. So it's not like I could take time off because I had just went back. So this is what happened. Basically, my stitches were done overlapped like this instead of straight. So my skin never healed together. So what they had to do is cut that piece of skin that had died and then re-stitch together. And I had to work the next morning. No painkillers because I was breastfeeding. They didn't numb me because they had to make sure they cut off all the dead skin. So I had to be able to feel everything they were doing. And I ended up doing a complaint to the board of, I guess it was the hospital, something they did. But a complaint towards that doctor because, one, he wouldn't listen to me when I said I needed to get checked. They gave me unnecessary medication that I did not know about. So I got medication that I shouldn't even have gotten and never signed to get. That was another big issue with the hospital. Luckily, he got fired. So that was one good thing. If you've ever delivered at Beverly Hospital or been to the hospital, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is a horrible place. But luckily for me, with my second, we moved to New Mexico. We delivered at UNM Hospital with all midwives. Every single person in there was a midwife. Every single person in there was a female. And that makes such a big difference. Not only that, but I had the support of my partner. He was there through every appointment, every thing they gave me, every medication, the entire labor, he was there. So it made it so much easier. My labor with Kai started at 7:50 in the morning. My water broke. I thought I peed myself. I freaked out because I had never had that happen. And I go to him and I was like, I think I peed. I was like, that or my water broke. I was 38 weeks pregnant at the time. And it was such an easy labor. Like, my water broke. We waited. I braided his hair. We got everything ready for the hospital. And then after like 2 to 3 hours later, we're like, okay, let's head down. Like, I'm starting to feel the contractions a little more. I get to the hospital. The doctor's like, yep, your water definitely broke. We're gonna keep you. And then she's like, you're already 3 centimeters dilated. I was like, damn, that was quick. I haven't really felt much. And then they put us in this huge room. It was so nice. We had so much space. They kept asking me, whenever you want pain meds, anything you need, we'll assist you with that whenever you need it, even if it's right before, even if it's right away, like anything you need. They would bring me food. They would bring me water. They were just great there. It was such a different experience from a place where they wouldn't even check me. And once it came, I think it was about 30 minutes before I actually started pushing, I asked for an epidural. I feel like if I knew that I was so close to delivering, I probably wouldn't have gotten it. But I expected it to be another long labor. So I was like, no, I'm gonna just get it and relax. So I got the epidural. It was one of those push button things, so it was a lot easier for me. I was just able to manage what I needed, so I didn't really use it that much. I think I pushed the thing like 3 times. Nurse came in with the midwife, and they're like, yeah, you're gonna start pushing. I was like, oh, wow, that was easy. We were joking around in between all the contractions. It was really nice. The nurses were like, this is the easiest labor we've ever been in. Baby was born, they cleaned everything up. I tore 1 stitch worth, so it was about nothing. He was a big old 8-pound baby. It was so nice. And then the hospital stay was super easy. You would think that with COVID, it would have been a lot harder, but it wasn't. They were really, like, they worked with you a lot. So the nurses would come in, they would even change his diaper, they would give him to me, they would ask me if I needed anything, they would bring me food, they would clean up my room for me. It was just so nice, especially not having my partner there with me all the time, because we do have a dog, so he would have to come back home, check on him, and then go back. It was so helpful having them there. So yeah, that was 2 labors, completely different. And to think that it's the same person having the babies. The pregnancies were completely different. And like I said, labors were completely different. So what I'm trying to like tell you guys is that don't get stuck on like what people tell you. And then try to research your hospital before you go into labor. Research your doctors, research who's gonna deliver your baby. It makes such a big difference knowing who's gonna be in the room, what you're working with in the hospital, what you're getting out of it, and where your baby is gonna be, because in the end, your baby and you are the most important part of that delivery. If something goes wrong with you, something goes wrong with the baby, it's better to be in a place that you trust rather than just a random place. So that's it. That's all I had for that. I'm gonna go drink my wine.